Travelers are finally taking to the skies again, but the surge in demand is coinciding with high oil prices driven by Russia's war on Ukraine. Airline ticket prices for the United States soaring, according to data from Hopper, an analytics company that tracks changes in airfare. Average cost of domestic round-trip tickets is about $330 in March, up 40% from the beginning of the year. They're projecting that's going to rise 10% through May, where a round-trip ticket is going to cost about $360, according to Hopper. For international prices, they are forecasting airfare to match 2019 prices through May before rising to about $940 through June, amounting to about a 15% increase from current prices. So joining us to talk about the travel industry and some of the challenges might be facing is Tuoyo Iwetan, who's an analyst with Financial Derivatives Company Limited. Tuoyo, very welcome. Good morning to you. The Global Business, GBTA, Global Business Travel Association.
Yes, please.
Saying that there's been a significant decline in revenues for airfare, car rentals, hotels, and so on. What do you make of that projection?
Oh, yes. I mean, the 2020 saw us get into the pandemic year.
Yep.
And then, I mean, it was a tough time where most countries had to restrict airlines from going in and out of the countries in order to curb the situation. And then for the airline space, I mean, if the airline space is having a revenue decline in terms of low patronage, it's going to have a multiplier effect spanning to the cab services hotel accommodations, even restaurants in the tourist attraction areas. So yeah, this was the major cause of the decline, because the statistics even shows that as at 2019, the major players in the travel industry did about $1.4 trillion US, and then by 2020, the pandemic year, it went as low as $660 billion US. That's over 50% decrease.
Yeah.
Big drop.
Wow. Okay. So I want to ask you about just COVID disruptions, right? First, we talked about with Michael Wilson, our business analyst, earlier in the program about China's, I think it's their manufacturing and purchasing managers index and non-manufacturing PMI contracting in March because of COVID flare-ups, right? So we've seen COVID flare-ups, but we've seen, I think Australia, some other nations, despite these COVID flare-ups, they've reduced their restrictions. So I mean, looks a little disjointed. What do you make of that? The fact that we've had flare-ups, so countries are still reducing some of their restrictions.
Yeah, so the thing is, the world is trying to move on. The world is trying to move forward because you can't bank on the fact that, there's a virus. And then at this point, I feel like world leaders are getting more comfort in the fact that people are being vaccinated. So this kind of allows them to be able to reduce the restriction based on travels, and then we have a lot of centers open for emergency cases in terms of a new variant against 2020 when the whole virus hit us unaware. I mean, you see Hong Kong sometime last week even saying that from 1st of April 2022, there's going to be a reduction in the restriction being put against the quarantine for incoming travelers. It's yet to be detailed in terms of if it has to do with the numbers of days you have to be quarantined or not. But then we can see people are really, really trying to make a balance of how things should be moving forward, especially even countries who depend on tourism.
Right.
Countries, I'm talking about countries like the UAE, where you have Dubai, Kenya, Rwanda, and the likes. I mean, they will definitely want to try as much as possible to restrict, to bring a reduction in the restriction on the travel space so they can help their revenue span up as it used to be.
Do you see a risk there? Is it risky behavior, reducing these restrictions at a time? Because Shanghai right now is shut down, right? So do you see a risk in this decision that there are some of these countries?
Yes, there's a risk. So however, before they do this, there have been a strategy where they've assessed the risk and then put up possible solutions for any sort of new variant and the likes, for having emergency centers and stuff. So yeah, the risk would be curtailed if eventually it gets to that point.
So for the players in the sector, airfare, travel accommodation, car rentals, and so on, what's the outlook? Are the revenues still challenged?
Well, as at now, they're beginning to pick up. I mean, because for instance now, airplanes, about 30% of their revenue consists of business trips, and right now with the level of virtual remote jobs that are being taken on, you see like a slight reduction in business travels, but then things are beginning to span up, and even your hotels, about to tell of their revenue comes from corporate reservations.
Wow.
Which is as a result of traveling for like negotiations and meetings and the like, physical verification of assets, stock counts. But then we saw that all these were being done remotely during the pandemic period. So,
Well, so our business, you think, I'm hesitant about this next question, but
Okay.
as far as businesses, in this travel, leisure space, again, airfare, hotels, car rentals, and so on, are they set for business as usual anytime soon? Like, what's the outlook, essentially?
well, I mean, right now you'd see that, I mean, most companies will have delayed approvals for some travels, that are usually being approved at a go. Like I mentioned earlier, for an audit firm now, in 2020, they still carried out their stock count and physical verification, even with the lockdown, while working from home. So now the question is, why should we incur the cost of sending someone to another state, paying for accommodation, feeding, where we can do this remotely and desire the same results? So like it will most likely be on a priority basis. Is it essential that we go? If it's not essential, we can do it remotely and save the cost. So yes, business is going back to where it was, but then it's not going to be 100% because the pandemic period has given, should I say, organizations like a new cost-saving mechanism right now in terms of like remote working. That's why I still see a lot of companies haven't resumed fully, even with the restriction of amount of persons who should be in the office cut down already. People are still doing the hybrid, 2 days, 3 days work from home and the likes. So yeah, business is going on as usual. However, they're still going to capitalize on the cost-saving part of the COVID era.
And so, what about the risks of another variant popping up? We don't know, right? I mean, we saw happen with the last couple of ones, or 3 now. I've lost count of how many variants have been out there. But is that still, as far as 2022 is concerned, and with the outlook, is that still a headwind that these industry folks have to be worried about?
Yes, please. The risk is still there. However, you can see that governments and organizations and health organizations are fighting these risks in terms of like COVID vaccinations. You hear the booster shots and the likes. So, and we can see like a lot of organizations even made it mandatory at some point for their staffs to be vaccinated in the bid to like do what they have to do for a better world. However, we will not take out the fact that it can come up at any time, so probably just to be ready. That's why a lot of places still mandate people to use their face masks and nose masks in order to curb the spread in case it comes at any point unexpectedly.
Finally, for, I guess, emerging markets like here, I mean, our vaccination rates in Nigeria is not as, well, even the African continent is not as, as high as the Western world. What do you make of that? Is that a hiccup for the global travel industry as far as this region is concerned?
Well, I mean, it's all about desensitization and trying to understand, make people understand the importance of being vaccinated. But then we see like there's been a major improvement where people are now willingly walking over to vaccination centers, because at some point it was kind of being forced where, if you're not vaccinated, you can't enter here. But like in terms of probably experienced or having to know someone who has had the virus and seen how they suffered, people are now like taking personal responsibility for their life by doing what they need to do, which is get vaccinated, use their masks where necessary, and basically take out all the precautionary steps in avoiding to spread the virus or curtail it.
Fantastic stuff. Tuoyo Iwetan, analyst with Financial Derivatives Company Limited. Thank you for joining us to talk about the travel industry. Appreciate your insights.
Yeah.